evening and welcome to Biz RoundUp. I'm Tamiru Nimsat and we at Art Television bring you a collection of business highlights. Let's have a look at the headlines. EPF balances will not be affected during debt restructuring. Central Bank Governor assures. Government looking to amend age-old Consumer Authority Act, Minister Nalin says. Pharmaceutical firms are not keen on government tenders, Pharmaceutical Chamber President says. News in detail. The Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandala Veerasinghe assures that the balances of employees' provident funds will not be affected during the debt restructuring process. The Central Bank Governor made this announcement at the President Media Center recently.
බාණ්ඩාගර බැඳුම් කර වලින් යෝජනා කරලා තියෙන්නේ අර ස්ටෙප් ඩවුන් කූපන් කියලා. තියෙන බොන්ඩ්ස් ඔක්කොම නැවත රජයට අරගෙන අලුතෙන් බොන්ඩ් සීරීස් ඉෂුව කරනවා. ඉෂුව කරනකොට 2025 වෙනිකම්ම 112ක් කූපන් හම්බ වෙන විදියට. එතකොට 112ක් හම්බ වෙනවා 2025 වෙනිකම් අලුතෙන් ඉෂුව කරන බොන්ඩ්ස් එක වලට. ඉතින් එහාට දිගටම 109ක් කූපන් එක හම්බ වෙනවා. එතකොට මේ යෝජනා කරපු ක්‍රමය තුළ විශේෂයෙන් අපි EPF එකේ කියන එක අපි බැලුවාම විශාලම ෆන්ඩ් එක 109ක් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඉදිරි යනකොට ඉදිරි වසර කිහිපය තුළ 109 රිටර්න් එක ඒගොල්ලන්ට හැම අපි දන්නවා EPF තියෙන අයගේ තමන්ගේ ස්ටේට්මන්ට් එක ආවහම කොච්චරද බැලන්ස් එක කියලා මාස 6කට සැරයක් EPF එකෙන් එවනවා. ඒකේ තියෙන බැලන්ස් එකට කොච්චර පොලියක් ලැබුණාද කියලාත් අපි වෙනවා. ඒ මුදල අපි සහතික කරනවා මේ තියෙන බොන්ඩ් එක්ස්චේන්ජ් එක තුලින් 109 දිගටම ගන්න පුළුවන් අඩුම ගන්න ඊළඟ අවුරුදු දෙක තුන තුල. එතනින් එහාට ආයෝජනය කරන හැටියට රිටර්න් එක හම්බෙන විදිහට උද්දමන 105 නම් මම හිතන්නේ අවම 109 නිසා 109 ගන්න පුළුවන් ඒක කියලා අපි විශ්වාස කරන ඉදිරිය දීර්ඝකාලීනව. එතකොට ඒ 109 ගෙවීම ආරක්ෂා වෙනවා. අනිකුත් වැදගත් කාරණේ තමයි තමන්ගේ EPF එකේ තියෙන බැලන්ස් එක දැනට තියෙන ස්ටේට්මන්ට් එකේ තියෙන බැලන්ස් එක ඒක අඩු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැමම තමන්ගේ තියෙන බැලන්ස් එක එහෙමම තියෙනවා. ඉදිරියේදී ලැබෙන්න තියෙන රිටර්න් එක ආයෝජනයේ ලැබෙන ප්‍රතිලාභය 109 සහතික කරනවා.
The central bank governor also said during the meeting that it is a priority of the government to safeguard the banking sector due to immense economic implications that can occur if it's destabilized.
When these things are announced, and there could be a lot of speculation, manipulation in the markets if markets are kept open. So that's the main reason why Friday was announced as a holiday, because all approval will be obtained after the parliament approval. In between there will be a lot of discussion, but obviously proposal is out. It's a proposal, not yet approved by the parliament properly in legal terms. So until then, there could be a speculation because those are market trading. In one hand, treasury bonds can be traded in the market, and on the other hand, bank stocks can be traded in the market on the speculation and manipulation. So just to prevent that kind of a market panic, speculation, stabilize the markets, that's the reason we wanted to announce Friday as a holiday that markets would not function. That's the only reason, nothing to do with the banking system concerns or stability. Why we announce, because there's a lot of speculation even before that there will be an impact on public deposits, a lot of inquiries about whether they need to withdraw their money from the banks. Just to settle those concerns, that's why I came out and explained the reason for this announcement of the public holiday is to complete this domestic debt optimization process properly within a proper time period, and so that can be discussed publicly, can have debate in the parliament committees, and finally approve and announce the strategy and launch the strategy on the first working day before markets open. That's the whole idea.
The central bank governor further said that long weekend was announced in order to avoid market panic or manipulation because both treasury bonds and bank stocks are trading instruments.
බැංකු පද්ධතියට හානියක් තව දුරටත් මේ ගැන බරක් පැටීම සාධාරණ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද දැනවත් ඒගොල්ලෝ ආර්ථිකයට දායකත්වයක් කරලා තියෙනවා. භාණ්ඩාගාරයට දායකත්වයක් කරලා තියෙනවා බදු වලින්. බැලුවොත් බැංකු පද්ධතිය තුළින් තියෙනවා තැන්පත් කරුවන්ගේ තියෙන තැන්පත් ප්‍රමාණය මිලියන 57ක්. රටේ ජනතාවගේ මිලියන 20ක් විතර ජනතාව වුණාට මිලියන 57ක් බැංකු ගිණුම ඔබ හැමගේ අපේ බැංකු වල ගිණුම් තියෙනවා. ගිණුම් වල මුදල් තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට මේ මුදල් වලට යම් කිසියක් වුණොත් බැංකු පද්ධතියට එක බැංකුවක් හෝ යම් කිසි වුණොත් බැංකු පද්ධතියට වෙන හානිය ඉතාම විශාලයි. එහෙම දෙයක් වුණොත් අපිට ප්‍රධානම අරමුණ සහ ඒක මහ බැංකු වශයෙන් බැංකු පද්ධතිය සහ තැන්පත් කරවන්ගේ මුදල් ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න ඔබ හැමෝම දැක්ක පහුගිය කාලේ අර ලොකු කතා තිබ්බ බැංකු කඩා වැටෙනවා තැම්පත් නැති වෙනවා ගොඩනෙක් ඇහුව තැම්පත් එළියට ගන්න දෙපාද අපේ වුණත් රාශියක් මුස්ලිම් කරා මේ බැංකු තැම්පත් වලට අවධානයක් තියෙනවාද කියලා බැංකු වල තැම්පත් වලට අවධානයක් තිබිලා තැම්පත් ඉවත් කරන්න ගත්තොත් බැංක් රන් කියලා කියන්නේ ඉකොනොමිකම කොලැප්ස් වෙනවා ආර්ථිකයම කඩා වැටෙන දෙයක් ඒක නිසා පළවෙනිම උත්සාහය බැංකු පද්ධතියට හානියක් නොවේ තැම්පත් කරුවගේ මුදල් මිලියන 57ක් තැම්පත් තියෙන එයාගේ මුදල් ආරක්ෂා කර ගැනීම එතකොට ඒක තමයි ලොකුම social impact එක තියෙන්නේ. ඒක ආරක්ෂා කරගන්නේ වැදගත් ආර්ථිකය සහ සමාජීය ආරක්ෂණය සඳහා බැංකු කරවන්ගේ තැන්පත් ආරක්ෂා කර ගැනීම ඉතාම වැදගත්.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe highlighted the country's experience in debt restructuring and the need for a comprehensive approach to address the challenges faced. The president said this in his intervention at a high-level panel at the World Leaders Summit for a new global financing pact held in Paris, France last week.
The President also emphasized the urgency of debt restructuring to avoid instability and advocated for a separate, innovative process for middle-income countries to address their unique challenges. Elaborating on Sri Lanka's experience, President Wickremesinghe referred to the country having taken ownership of its debt and the economic restructuring program. He also emphasized the need for timely and automatic access to concessional financing and referred to the cost incurred in the process. Calling for improved interaction between creditors and debtors, President Wickremesinghe proposed a new approach to address geopolitical issues which tend to influence discussions on debt coordination. The President observed that ongoing negotiations with Japan, India and China with regard to trade integration and development programs also aided the process. He also appreciated the role of the Paris Club in this process. President Wickremesinghe opined that the debt architecture would be more efficient and an official creditor committee was to be formed with IMF coordination.
Stay tuned. We will return after this commercial break.
Art Music Cafe, your favorite request show. We schedule your favorite songs around the world. Every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Nice. Again at me?
Your mom owns one of the biggest fashion companies in the world.
It's atrocious. Hate it? Now here's a dress I absolutely can't stand.
Maria.
Do you know that in Bangkok they have little children in sweatshops doing a better job than that?
You going to the show tomorrow night? What am I saying? Nikki's in it. Of course we'll be there. Stalker.
Fan. There's a distinction.
Are you in the industry?
No, not as glamorous. More like a desperate housewife.
You're anything but desperate.
Fashion House.
Welcome back after the break. On the sidelines of the summit, President Wickremesinghe also met with a number of dignitaries of world organizations and representing countries with the aim to further enhance bilateral ties.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe met the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and apprised on the progress of debt restructuring and economic recovery, as well as on the government's climate prosperity plan. President Wickremesinghe also met the Managing Director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, and appreciated the support extended by the IMF to Sri Lanka during the economic crisis. The President also briefed Managing Director Georgieva on progress in the reforms undertaken by the government as per the agreement with the IMF. The President also briefed the Managing Director on the government's climate prosperity plan, including the move towards renewable to optimize on the economic benefits for the people. President Wickremesinghe also met the Secretary of the US Treasury Janet Yellen on the sideline of the summit. The discussion focused on development cooperation and economic cooperation when he met the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Sigrid Kaag. The President attended the summit held at the level of head of government on the invitation of President Macron.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said Sri Lanka looks forward to investments from China in various sectors to provide long-term solutions to economic issues. The Prime Minister said this when the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Wee Sheng-shong, paid a courtesy call to the Temple Trees residents in Colombo on Monday. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said Sri Lanka highly values China's continuous support to Sri Lanka. The areas covered during the discussion also included issues relating to Colombo Port City, Hambantota Port, and poverty alleviation programs. The Prime Minister made a request to introduce high-yielding rice varieties developed in Yannan province in China to Sri Lanka. Ambassador Wee Sheng-shong assured China's continuous support to Sri Lanka's efforts to meet the current efforts at debt restructuring. The Prime Minister made a special mention about the Chinese stand in support of Sri Lanka's sovereignty at the international forums, including the UNHRC. Chinese ambassador said the Chinese Buddhist associations will continue to help temples and set up internationally important Theravada Buddhist center in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister agreed to set up a coordinating committee to expeditiously implement the proposal. Minister of Trade, Commerce and Food Security Nalin Fernando said that the government is working on amending the centuries-old act relating to the Consumer Authority. The Minister of Trade, Commerce and Food Security said this at the President's Media Centre recently.
පාරිභෝගික අධිකාරිය පනත අපි වෙනස් කරන්න කඩුමට අනුමැතිය ලබාගෙන තිනවා. ඒ හරහා දැන් නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට අරලා තිනවා. ඒ පනත ගේනවා. ඒකෙන් විශාල විදියට පාරිභෝගික ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න අපි කරුණු කාරණා 30කට වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් අපි වෙනස් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි 1900 ගිය කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ මන්ද 1864 පාන් ආඥා පනත කියලා පනතක් තියෙනවා. ඒ පනත කැන්සල් කරන්න මම දැම්මා. ඒකේ අවසානයේ ඒ පනත තියෙන නිසා අපිටවත් සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයටවත් කිරුම්බිනුම් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවල කිසි වැඩක් කරගන්න බෑ. ඒකේ එක කොටසක් තියෙනවා ප්‍රමිතිය ඒවල තියෙන ක්වොලිටිය බලන සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයට බර බලන්න කිරුම්බිනුම් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවල ඒකේ තව අසාධාරණයක් බලන්න පාරිභෝගික අධිකාරිය තුනකට තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මම අර අමාත්‍යාංශවල සහයෝගයත් යතු ඒක පාන් පනත අයින් කරලා 1864 දින පනත අයින් කරලා අලුත් වැඩපිළිවෙලක් කරනවා පාන් සඳහා පාන් වල ප්‍රමිතිය පාන් වල බර සහ පාන් වල තියෙන අනිකුත් සියලු දේ සඳහා විසඳුම් ලබා දෙන. මොකද අද වෙද්දී හාල් වලට අමතරව දෙවෙනි ආහාරය තමයි පාන් පිටි. ඒ නිසා පාන් පිටි සඳහා අපි ඒ නිෂ්පාදන සඳහා වැඩි අවධානයක් යොමු කරන්න වෙනවා පාරිභෝගික ආරක්ෂා කරන නිසා තමයි අපි පාන් පිටි ආනයනය කිරීම නවත්තන්න රජයේ තීන්දුව කරලා පස්සේ දේශීය කර්මාන්ත දෙක මේ රටේ නිෂ්පාදනය කරන පිටි සමාගම් වලට මම අත්‍යවශ්‍ය භාණ්ඩයක් කරලා තිබ්බේ මේ පාන් පිටි තව උස්සල ගණන් උඩ නැතිව නවත්ත ගන්නත් ඒ හරහා පාන් මිල අඩු කර ගන්නත්.
Stay tuned. We will return after this commercial break. Welcome back after the break. The Romanian government assured support for the extension of GSP Plus beneficial to the Sri Lankan government, which is also planning to open an embassy in Bucharest, Romania. The support was extended by the visiting Romanian Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Traian Ristia, when he called on Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. Romania is another favorable and preferred employment destination for Sri Lankans since 2016. The Sri Lankan workforce in the apparel, construction, hospitality and agriculture sectors in Romania is assessed to be over 32,000. The State Minister Ristia said there will be additional employment opportunities as Romania is currently implementing several large-scale infrastructure projects. The Prime Minister urged Romania to consider investments in education, agriculture, railways, IT and tourism sectors. He explained the measures taken by Sri Lanka to solve the issues related to the current economic crisis and stressed the need for continuous support of European Union. Romanian minister assured that his country would support Sri Lanka's request for continuation of GSP Plus duty concessions for Sri Lankan exports. Sri Lanka Chamber of Pharmaceutical Industries says that pharmaceutical firms are becoming less enthusiastic to participate in government tenders. The Chamber President, M. Prathaban, said this at its annual general meeting held in Colombo last week. Chamber of Pharmaceutical Industry cited the financial strain from outstanding payments running into billions of rupees and unfavorable tender clauses to be the main reasons. According to the Chamber President, the current outstanding payments owed by SPZ are estimated at over 10 billion rupees. Prathaban pointed out that it has become financially non-viable for firms to compete in state tenders, in particular given the current interest rate regime of 20 to 25%. Meanwhile, the chamber chief also highlighted that a number of tender clauses are either one-sided or unfavorable to both parties. He urged the government to revisit these unfavorable tender clauses and replace such clauses with more pragmatic ones. Health Minister Keheliya Ramukwella assured the industry that the government has given its utmost priority to settle the due payments despite the difficult circumstances. Earlier, the government partially settled the outstanding payments to the industry via treasury bonds after the outstanding payments peaked to around 30 billion rupees. Sri Lanka Tourism says it is able to welcome 2 million tourists and generate $3.7 billion in income this year while increasing arrivals to 5 million and earn $21.6 billion within 7 years. Sri Lankan tourism delegation and Minister Harin Fernando said this at a forum to give an update on the tourism strategy in Colombo recently. Sri Lanka Tourism hopes to lift the average spending per visitor to $4,000, indicating a concentration on luring high-end tourists. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority Chairman Priyantha Fernando acknowledged that despite the internal and external challenges, the industry has performed reasonably well. SLTDA chairman called for collective efforts from industry stakeholders to make tourism the country's leading foreign exchange earner by 2027. The chairman stated the industry needs to embark on a data-driven decision-making process to attract high-end visitors. Fernando also said SLTDA recognizes the need for additional hotels and room capacity to attract high-end tourists to Sri Lanka. The chairman noted that from May 2022 to May 2023, a total of 32 projects including 1,283 hotel rooms with a combined investments of $160 million have received approval. Fernando said Sri Lanka Tourism plans to conduct an airport survey to gather insights into traveller preferences and expectations. He further outlined the process of finalizing 11 draft regulations for new services and declaring new tourism development areas as per the Tourism Act. With that, we wind up for today. For this and more, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. See you tomorrow with State of Business at 7:45 p.m. Take care and good night.